Hey, everybody, welcome to Inside D2Football for the Week 1 reaction show, Week 2 preview. We have a lot of things to break down from another full weekend of D2 football. Again, guys, it was a weekend that was spread across multiple days with games Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And we had a lot of really surprising and interesting results. We only had a few kind of marquee matchups in this past week's slate, but we got some results that were really interesting. We have some injury news that could shape the course of the rest of the season for a few teams. There will be no review of the pick segment from last week, so we're going to skip right over the results of that. It never happened. And then, of course, we have a lot to go over for this coming weekend, which actually get us into week 2. And, of course, guys, we already have quite a few leagues getting into conference play. So lots of exciting games coming up that we will get to as well. So we had a lot of action and a lot of results that I don't know if they'd say stunned us or surprised us, but there were quite a few very interesting or somewhat eye-raising. We've got a view there of all of the teams entering last week ranked in the top 25 that lost. Now, there's a few in there that I think we would kind of give them a pass. Central Washington, of course, played at Montana. Of course, we did not expect them to win that game. Pitt and UCO were both ranked teams, so obviously one of them was going to lose. Same with Charleston and Cal. One of those teams was going to lose. However, we also had a handful of teams in there that played unranked opponents and a couple of really surprising ones that we're going to get to. But let's lead off with a couple of the top games from this past weekend. I know we were all really excited to see not necessarily what the result of this game was, but how this was going to play out. What were both of these teams going to bring to it? Because, we already had two teams who had expectations of being MIAA champions, starting the season 0-1, meeting each other this early in the year. We had two teams that had a lot of reason to play with a sense of urgency here.
Absolutely. And, we kind of figured that coming on in that Central Oak might be riding a little bit more high at this point. And, Pitt, we knew had this really, really challenging start to their schedule. But let's go ahead and roll some of the video here. And as we pop on in, Mr. Cottrell, the running back from UCO, immediately gets loose and shows why he is one of the best athletes at our level. And interesting, we're going to watch a replay of this. Jordan Rogers, the safety, comes on up to make a tackle and kind of meet him at the spot. And pretty slick move. Watch some of the footwork here that Cottrell puts on him right about whoop. And that is you can kind of see why he's one of the top guys at D2. Then big play here. Jet Huff takes a shot right there. Ball gets intercepted, fumbled. Then Montreal Lee on our Elite 100 team, I thought might add, takes it in for a score. But is there some other damage that was had along the way here? Because Jet Huff's down and he did not return to the ball game. He got hit twice, real hard. Both times upper body, and you got to worry about him quite a bit because he was down for a while. You're going to see Pitt State now getting loose. We saw a little bit more explosive aspect to their offense. You see some nice speed here. And as we're watching this game, UCO gets up comfortably early. And then you're going to see here Jackson Berry slinging it a little bit. Their new quarterback. I kind of like the playmaker that they have there. And now we move on to Clayton Cracy, who comes on in relief. And he goes ahead and gets a score here for UCO. A real important one as the game got closer. He played the rest of the contest. Kind of had an okay day, but at the same time, they went ahead and got the win. And you see, Jackson Berry goes back, and this is something that they did not have in the last, few years. Guy who can make plays with his feet in that way. But at the end, what happens? They miss a chip shot there to tie it on up. UCO ends up taking the day. So a few things that I took from it, guys. Oddly enough, I took more from it on the Pitt side of things. I like what I saw with some of their athleticism offensively. And I don't know really what to make of Central Oak. They win the battle, but is Jet Huff maybe out for a while? And do they lose the war? I don't know. What are your thoughts, Tony, as we kind of unpack a little bit of this game?
Yeah, I was really interested to see what Pitt State was going to do in response to, dropping the opener at Ferris, which, I think we all picked Ferris to win that game.
Sure.
I was interested to see, okay, how are they going to defend what Central Oak typically is going to do in the run game? Because how Ferris approaches it isn't always the same as how everybody else approaches it. And while, Cottrell got loose for a couple, in general, it still felt like Pitt State, did a serviceable job against it. I still looked at that tape and a little bit of the game that I got to see, and I still felt like Central Oak was faster. I think, Pitt State has some spots where they're faster than maybe they have in the past. I still think Central Oak was the faster of the two teams, and that was one of the things that made the difference in the game.
Ferg, and Ferg, by the way, you're muted at the moment, but what do you, as we kind of round table talking about this big game, what takeaways do you have here, Chris?
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty hard when your quarterback gets hurt like that and you got to put somebody else in. But, man, you talk about just being resilient if you're Central Oklahoma here. I think that really, to me, stands out. I think you had, last week where it wasn't so the case and they found a way to sort of bounce back. So I'm kind of like, man, like, as we go through the rest of these games, like, I don't know what to make of a lot of this right now.
Yeah,
you're right.
And I think it's hard to not read too much more into, okay, this is like one game. There's just so much more to go. But there's just a lot of questions. And I think that this game really doesn't give any kind of ease to, is Pitt State on the way down yet? It doesn't really give any ease to, okay, like, has Central Oklahoma figured it out? That's the way I kind of take from this.
Oh, what did you see out of this, buddy?
Man, I think I look at it more from the Pitt State side of things. You play two quality opponents week 1 and week 2, and typically as a coach, you see a lot of growth. And I think we did see growth from week 1 to week 2 if you're Pitt. But I think just coming up short, it's very deflating. I think it takes a lot to get the guys to come back and not go 0-3 and to kind of say, hey, we still have everything in front of us and to kind of keep playing. So for me, it kind of looks like that. And Central Oklahoma, obviously, they were 0-1 too. One of these teams is going to go 0-2. And it's tough because they're two very good quality teams. So to start like that is always really, really hard. And I still think for both these guys, Whit, I think there's still a lot of football to play and a lot to play for if you're both of these teams.
Chuck, you and I spoke over the weekend, and I said I found myself in an awkward position where I felt better about Pitt State at 0-2 than I thought I would. Doesn't that seem like an odd take?
No, I think I know what you mean. Although we'll see what we're saying a week from tonight, because we as we've talked about, the path just doesn't get any easier. But to that point, Whit, I think that the thing that I was really looking for in this game was not necessarily the outcome, because we knew it's a toss-up. It could easily go either way. Mm-hmm. What I was really looking for is how does each team respond? Knowing, they're already starting off 0-1. They know they have a tough road ahead. Both these teams have a really, really difficult road ahead. And they both responded and they performed very well, including in that game, because both teams faced a lot of adversity in that game. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Central Oak losing their quarterback. Pitt State played from behind most of the night. And those teams responded to the adversity, and that's what you really like to see. And I think the takeaway right now, Whit, and it's not that it matters in terms of the top 25, but we're all voters. And we put out a top 25 poll. So I've been asking myself kind of all day, is Pitt State still a top 25 team, even though they're 0-2? And I'll be perfectly honest with you guys, I haven't answered that question for myself yet. I'm still looking at it. We have a lot more games to talk about. But what we've seen so far, I still feel really comfortable putting Pitt on the field with, most of the other teams in Division II and betting on them to win the game. So,
yeah,
at this point, I think I probably still err on them being a top 25 team.
I think I agree with that.
All right. Well, I know that you and John will do a deep dive on that. You'll probably have a lot more intel, and I know you guys will break down the film and talk about it a lot more on MIAA Weekly. Whit, put in the plug for that. Would that be tomorrow night, Monday?
You know what? We're actually calling an audible. My guy Tom for the Northern Suns got a situation going on Tuesday, so he and I are going to be on Monday evening, and then Dykstra and I will be on Tuesday.
All right, so we have even more time to let that marinate a little bit, more time for you guys to expand on what we saw in that game. And as part of that show, Whit, you'll also be talking about our next game. A little bit of redemption here for the MIAA. Fort Hays goes on the road against a really good CSU Pueblo team, and they come out with a 1-point win, even after a long delay late in the fourth quarter, I want to say, Whit. They were inside 2 minutes, I believe, when they had to go to the locker room for the lightning delay.
Yeah, about 90 seconds left in the contest, and I'll be honest, Chuck, it was kind of late in my evening, and I was kind of ready for this game to wrap up one way or another.
You said
so
that
when
a
they
few
decided
times,
to, when they decided to go into a lightning break, I decided that was a good time to go make snacks because that's what we do.
I remember you didn't like my proposal that this game go to overtime, so I know you were happy it ended.
Yeah, we weren't ready to get quite that carried away, Chuck. But this was, the games that were played on Thursday night, oddly, in all different parts of the country, seemed like they got hit by storms. Yeah. Chuck, you were out in PA going to boots on the ground, and you were getting rained on, and there was a bunch of it at another game or two that we'll see. And we're out in Colorado here in this one, and we're getting a thunderstorm, and they played through quite a bit of that, and actually a better game played than you would expect given the conditions. But let's go ahead and roll some of the video here. We start on off, and top of your screen we got Reggie Ratzlaff, and Roman Fuller just throws up a fade to him, and he comes down with it because that's what that guy does. And he did leave the game early, second quarter. Got hip drop tackled and ended up hurting his foot, didn't return. But you see here, Fort Hays battles back and showed a ton of resolve in this game. Now, what's interesting is Pueblo gets up here, gets to 12-7, and they tried to go for 2, didn't get it. They're having some challenges with some of the extra point business. Nice little fake right there by Fort Hays on the fake field goal right before half. We're in a 1-point game here. Early fourth quarter, Roman Fuller gets loose. Those aren't words I'm used to saying. As he trucks all the way into the corner of the end zone there, scores. I thought at this point Pueblo kind of had it, and Fort Hays just kept on coming, plowing right on into the end zone here. And we've got a game now of a 2-point contest where Pueblo is trying to survive, and Fort Hays says, we're going to go for 2 right here, right now. I like the play that they had here, a little roll right and doing a little screen back to the other side. They get on in, and we got a 29-all ball game, and I'm thinking this is a fun way to spend a Thursday night early in the year. And Fort Hays just kept on coming and was turning, getting first down after first down. Caleb Heavner, their quarterback, did a real nice job. This is after the rain delay. We're at 27 seconds, and Honeycutt scores for Pueblo, and we're going to go ahead and kick the extra point and probably go into overtime. No, we're not. Low kick ends up going, it looked like into the front wall there a little bit, and Fort Hays with a huge win, biggest win I can remember in quite some time for them. I'm sure somebody will probably chirp us in the comments with that. But as we mentioned earlier, Caleb Heavner, big game. John Johnson, defender, who's on our Elite 100 team, he had 13 stops. And guys, now it kind of comes to the question of Fort Hays was in our top 20 to start the year. So not only who are they, but who's Pueblo? So, Coach Poe, I'll start with you. We walk away from this. I'm going to ask you about Pueblo first. I think that we had maybe a consideration that they could be a top 5 team, maybe with Ratzlaff coming back, a team that could maybe compete for being the best team in their super region. Yeah. Do we still hold those feelings?
You don't ever want to say a team is one person, but it sure seems like that offense flows through Reggie Ratzlaff, and it felt like when he wasn't in the ball game, things got a little bit harder for them offensively. And the other thing is when you have those situations where you may lose a guy and somebody goes down, you have to win the two other areas of the game in special teams and defense. And they didn't do that this week. That PAT, it's, it happens. And sometimes, you don't make them all, but you got to make them when it matters. And that one mattered to tie the ball game. So, Reggie Ratzlaff, it hurts. And particularly two guys, because when you go into a game like this against a tough team, you put all that preparation into that guy. And when he gets hurt, it completely changes your play calling. It could potentially change kind of the way you're going to attack that game because of the skill set of the players you have in the ball game. So I think that's a big loss early for them. But they still were able to rally and get 483 yards of total offense. So
right.
They were able to salvage it, which is good. But when that happens, you need the other side of the ball to step up.
Tony, as we roundtable about this contest, you got a chance to see Pueblo firsthand just what, a year ago. You're very familiar with this team and what they can do. What do you walk away with in a game like this?
What I was actually starting to think, especially after last week and maybe even in different parts of last year, is that I think they've really found their guy in Roman Fuller. That's to lose your number one weapon that early in the game and still put up the game that he did. I think speaks volumes about what kind of talent he has and what else is around him. But I share it, guys. You just saw the lack of attention to detail at different points of that Pueblo second half, and that's what ended up allowing Fort Hays to kind of just keep grinding and hang in there and finally complete the comeback. I think that's what I'd be worried about now, and we'll probably talk about this plenty when we get to the Super 7 later, is okay, does Fort Hays end up beating Pueblo twice? I think that's the bigger question that has to get answered here in the short run versus, okay, what's Pueblo going to be by week 10?
Ferg, on either squad here, any takes that you have coming out of this?
Well, I think the point about how Pueblo's offense seemed to kind of sputter at times is really, really important. I mean, you think about sometimes you end up playing the field position game, and, when you look at the drive charts, you'll see where Pueblo stalls out at like just inside their opponent 40, punt the ball. And that's in the third quarter, right? And then in the fourth quarter, it's kind of the same thing. They end up stalling out in that same spot and they turn it over on downs. And, those are the type of games that when you mention you allowing an opponent to sort of hang in the game, those are the things that kind of stand out to me because you really need to create some separation, and Pueblo just couldn't do it.
Right. Every time they felt like they were going to really break the game open, they didn't. And Chuck, we're obviously have talked quite a bit about the number 6 team that was in our poll, CSU Pueblo. You know what? Let's flip it on over to Fort Hays for a moment. What do you take from this? How do you see this ball club going forward?
Well, there's two things that kind of stand out to me, bigger picture with this game. First of all, Chris Brown and his staff at Fort Hays did a fantastic job managing this game. They kept their guys in it, kept them through some adversity when they were playing from behind. They were aggressive when they needed to be aggressive. They were cautious when they needed to be cautious. I thought they called a tremendous game. We saw some of the really inventive plays that they used in really critical spots too. So I just thought A+ coaching job by Chris Brown and his staff there. In a very difficult situation in the Thunder Bowl. And then also just bigger picture, guys, remember a couple of years ago, we were sitting here complaining about the MIAA playing an 11-game schedule and not having any out-of-conference games. This is why we complained about it, because now you've got Fort Hays opening their season playing tremendous games against teams like Angelo State and CSU Pueblo. And now we've got all these other games that we're talking about as well. So, a little bit of vindication for us and for our guy Brandon for why we advocated so heavily to not have those closed schedules, because we get games like this and we're really excited to talk about it.
Totally agree with you, buddy.
Yeah. So let's go to the other end of the country, Whit, and let's take a look at Charleston in California. Whit, you actually pointed out to me this afternoon we were chatting. It's actually the same final score these two teams had a year ago. We just have a different result.
Yeah, this is an indication that we have too much time on our hands, guys like you and I, Chuck, when we come up with things like this. But 23-19 was the result a season ago. Just Charleston obviously won that game, though. And let's go ahead and take a look at some of the highlights here from out in Cal, PA, where rain was very much a factor there. We're going to go ahead and see some of the video. Right away, we've got an interception here that provided by Cal. And Cal got off to a good start. Chuck, I had kind of communicated with you as you were on the road. I kind of thought that Cal, honestly, was gonna kind of roll in this game. They were doing a lot of things right early, and then a little bit of a tush push play here. And Roman Purcell, the new signal caller for Cal, offers some nice things in the run game. It looked like I was thinking it was all Cal, and they were looking great in the first quarter, and then they allow this to happen. And all of a sudden, Charleston's back in the football game after a long play on the special teams game, and then they go ahead, before half, and this game started to kind of flip a little bit. Then there was plenty of field goals, not a ton of offensive scores outside of that. From what we've seen, because we end up having another special teams touchdown, but on this time it's actually from Cal, and the punt return that goes for a score ends up being the real big play here. As we get closer to the mid back half of the game, and Charleston struggled to throw the football, 6 of 21 for 100 yards throwing the ball. And this is kind of how it ends for them. A little bit of last gasp as they're going ahead trying to make a play on 4th and 23. Ball gets caught out of the air by Cal, and that's all she wrote. And this is one of those that it's kind of tough to what we walk away from with this kind of game. Very closely contested game. I thought that Bobby Boyd for Cal stood out at times. A running back who can be really electric, but I think he's the kind of guy that they don't want to have too heavy a workload on. And Roman Purcell, I think, is an interesting guy for them at quarterback. He can make some plays with his feet. And, Cal ends up winning this game. And at the same time, Charleston, without having the quite the offense they did a year ago, I'm just not entirely sure what I think of them going forward. Guys, any take on this one here? I know that there might not have been as many eyeballs on this game as there was some of the other feature games that we kind of talked about. You know what, Chuck? I'm probably going to go to you. Chuck, you kind of caught up with this game a little bit later.
Yeah, I watched a lot.
What did you walk away with?
Watched a lot of it this morning, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know that I feel particularly good about the way this went for either team. Great result for Cal. Great result for Cal. I actually thought Charleston was going to win this game, mostly because Cal just had so much newness on both sides of the ball, and the broadcast team even talked about that.
Right.
They won this game. They found ways to do it. Special teams was a big factor. They did some good things on defense as well. For both teams, though, I come away thinking, man, this was a little bit of a choppy performance. I don't know what this means going forward, especially for Cal playing in a very difficult PSAC West division. Charleston probably has a few more opportunities to find their footing and get things right before they have a few difficult games later on. But, I think if you're Cal, you'd certainly rather learn and improve and grow through a win. So a great result for them. And I was very impressed that they won this game.
Fair take.
All right. Well, let's go through the last of our games that we have video highlights for. And this is one that I don't know if we really expected this to be as close as it ended up being or not. You can roll the tape and talk us through it, but really good barn burner here between Colorado Mines and West Texas.
Yeah, you know what, Chuck, this was a really interesting game. RJ Martinez, quarterback for West Texas. You got to see some of his athleticism in this contest, and ended up being a really closely fought battle here. And as we take a look here, we go ahead and we see here's RJ right there getting loose on a quarterback draw, and He threw for almost 300 yards, rushed for another 150 almost. But on the other side, we've got Joseph Capra, who is the new quarterback, for mine. So we got a chance to see two pretty good signal callers, I thought. And, Martinez is going to be their guy. And then you see the kind of plays that Capra can make right here. He can move in the pocket. He goes ahead and finds a wide open Pierce Richards, who had a real nice day, 2 scores. We get into the fourth quarter here. We got a 31 all ball game, and they end up Mines end up getting a safety here, and Mines ends up winning. And we have the graphic wrong. That was actually down at West Texas, but we wanted to go ahead and give a little bit of shine to both teams because of the fact that some of these guys, whether it's Martinez, Capra, or others, we just haven't had a chance to really talk about much yet, and think that they may be some of the kind of the new rising stars that we may see out there in that super region.
Yeah, for sure, Whit. And a question back to you and maybe for the other guys as well. Mines, this was a really good win for them, but for West Texas, they're at 0-2. But they're still trying to build something there with the coaching staff that they've got in place. They're still trying to build something. It's been a little bit of a slow burn to really advance that program. They are 0-2, but they've competed really well against 2 very good teams out of the RMAC. Do we feel good that they're making some progress there in Canyon?
I would say so, because let's face it. Think about the last couple of years. We've almost been dismissive of them. And we took enough notice off of what they did last week that we put them in the Super 7 or this week, and it was warranted because that was a heck of a ball game. So if I'm 0-2 in Canyon, I'm feeling obviously not as good as if I had some wins, but you could feel a heck of a lot worse than 0-2 than they should.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. We got K-Ferg back at just the right time. K-Ferg, I know that you occasionally have some eyes on West Texas. You have some ties there. Are you seeing some signs of progress? Are there some things to feel good about despite being 0-2 at this point in the season? We got the head shake. All right, we'll go with that. We'll go with that.
Yeah, look, listen. I think to me, it feels very encouraging to see the progress that they've made. Playing the top half of the RMAC so far. But I think that, WT needs to find a running game. You can't keep running your quarterback like this. That led to that safety in the end, and you just, there's only so much of that you can do. And so to me, yeah, that to me is what separates them from, probably getting this win. But also I feel very encouraged where this is going so far. In year 3 for Josh Lynn.
Yeah, year 3 for Josh Lynn there. So
guys, let me flip sides here for a moment. Coach Poe, Colorado Mines, and watching some of that, I got some of the feels that maybe are they returning a little bit to form of what they were a few years back, where pretty dangerous in the pass game. You see Landon Walker, 30 carries, 138 yards. That's a big workload for him. Do you get a little bit of, hey, maybe there's some signs that they're back?
Yeah, I think it is. Anytime you're carrying the ball for 30 carries, 138 yards, that's a big day. And then, if you're 17 for 23 for 195 and 3 tutties, that's pretty good. Offensively, it seemed like they were in rhythm. I think culture stands and culture withstands, and it seems like that Mines, and that was kind of the question going into last week was, hey, how much of a drop off is it going to be with what they've lost in the offseason to now? And there's not a lot. There's not a lot of drop off, and that culture there in that program has withstood that change, and not just in terms of roster change, but in coaching change. And so I think it's pretty scary that they can come out week 1 and kind of hit their stride and hit rhythm so early. That's a good sign if you're Colorado Mines.
Well, and Chuck, there's also a mention here in the comments that star wideout Flynn Shealy may have hurt his knee and be out for the season. Let's certainly hope not, because, boy, we already talked about 2 real superstar first team All-American type players on the show that, are out with an injury, and we don't know the duration of them. It seems like this was a kind of a costly week across D2 for offensive football players.
Yeah, and we still haven't mentioned all of them, but also before we move on from this game, and we'll do that here in just a sec. But I see AC and Tanner are both in the comments, so make sure you catch RMAC Weekly a little bit later on this week. I know that they'll recap this, go through all the questions that we just asked about mines. They've also had good eyes on West Texas because they played 2 RMAC teams, so they have some good intel there as well. So make sure you catch those guys later on this week to catch up on everything happening in the RMAC. So that is the recap on the kind of spotlight games that we had for some video and the box scores. But guys, we have a ton of others that we want to mention, and we'll try to do most of these a little quickly, and we'll kind of throw these around to the group a little bit. Hey, welcome to the season Great American Conference. They had their first. I think they were the only league that didn't have anybody playing in week 0, but they played their full schedule on Thursday night. Hey, opened with a bang. How about that? East Central, last play of the game, gets a field goal and upsets Washita. Did anybody have that on the on their radar for opening night in the GAC?
Negative.
No, I didn't either. I think we all kind of felt Washita's got a lot of questions coming in the season, but did not see them falling on the road. So huge win there for the Tigers. Elsewhere around the GAC, Arkansas Tech gets a win. Notable because that is the first game and first win for Roy Thompson. Again, we kind of talked about him in the preseason. He was the AFCA D2 Assistant Coach of the Year at Washita last year. So congrats to him and his Wonder Boys starting off the season on a good note. And Whit, elsewhere in the GAC, some pretty noticeable career accomplishments here.
Yeah, and we take a look at Harding. We already kind of knew that they were going to roll this game, or at least we felt comfortably they would. And within the first quarter, this one was pretty much in the books. But Cole Keelan becoming the winningest quarterback in GAC history is pretty interesting thing. And heck of a ball player, heck of a competitor for this team. So many of the guys that we end up talking about, fellas, on this show, you can just look at their stats and immediately see their value. Cole Keelan's not that kind of guy. When you look at what they do, he's like a point guard. He's given the ball to all these other guys in a very, selfless way. And he just wins football games and plays pretty clean football. And there's a whole lot to be said for the star he is, despite the fact the stats don't all jump off the page for him.
37 career wins, just one game into his senior season. So probably quite a few more to add to the total there for Cole and for the Bisons. So moving on back to Super Region 1. We picked the Ashland and IUP game, and I think we probably all were sort of reading it right. In the end, this kind of ended up being the type of fist fight that we expected it to be. Low scoring, ugly, very unattractive game, loaded with mistakes, no offense to speak of whatsoever, but a great win for Ashland, the first over IUP.
I told you they'd get me. I told you.
Well, they did. They got a couple of us. I think. Whit, do you remember? Did anybody actually pick Ashland in this game?
I don't. Let me see. Justin did.
Okay,
That would be me.
Way to go, Coach Paul.
Typically the kiss of
Yeah,
death,
baby.
and it was.
So a lot of us got the outcome wrong, but I think if we'd been picking scores, a lot of us probably would have said, "Yeah, 13-9 sounds about right."
Right.
When these two teams get together, but it was a great win for Ashland. Their defense did a phenomenal job. Now, IUP's got some ineptitude to answer for offensively, but I think the story is really how well Ashland's defense played. So congrats to them. Huge win. And then another big win for the GMAC. Finley upsets a ranked UIndy team. I was at this game, guys. Had a great time out there in Finley. Saw this one up close. Really fun one to see. There was a wild sequence of events at the end of the first half. There were 3 touchdowns in the final minute of that half. Finley had 2 of those. Really swung the game in their favor, and I don't think UIndy ever really recovered from that. And it was a pretty tough performance for the Greyhounds. They made a lot of mistakes. Don't want to take anything away from Finley because they earned the win, and they did a great job taking away what UIndy does really well. They really took away the downfield passing game, neutralized Gavin Sukup and what he's able to do best. So really good performance there for the Oilers. Really hard-earned win, and I had a great time watching that one. So thank you to the folks in Finley for accommodating. It was a pleasure to be there. K-Ferg, here's a couple in your territory. I think we all had some eyes on the possibility this could be a really good day for Johnson C. Smith. They did get the win over Valdosta State. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, this was a bit of a prove-it game for Johnson C. Smith, and I think what you ended up seeing here is that a little bit of a slow start for the Golden Bulls, but I think once they sort of got their bearings, it was like look out below, and the ability of the defense to create turnovers and really give Valdosta off balance really stood out in this game. It took some, I would say, some on-the-fly adjustments for Coach Flowers, and he did that. I mean, you had a standout day from the quarterback, Kelvin Durham, a couple of times where they were inside the 10, and they were trying to pound the ball inside, and they ended up using a sort of a fake and using Kelvin Durham's ability to run the ball to get into the end zone. Really caught Valdosta off guard, I felt like. And Ronte Dunbar, defensive back, also had a standout day, had a fumble recovery, had an interception as well. Those things were really key. And just to see JCSU put the game away in the fourth quarter to get that final score was huge.
Well, K-Ferg, you asked the Twitter universe, but I'm going to ask you. Does this mean that there will be 2 CIAA teams in the top 25 next week?
I think so. I think if I had to make a case for 2 teams in, you just look at the body of work that JCSU has sort of been building up with. I mean, they were already a fringe team to begin with, and to me, this is a statement win. It wasn't even close. The final score is not even close. So that says a lot. Not to take away from Valdosta, because I think that Valdosta certainly has a pretty good team and certainly has a lot of work to do. But Johnson C. Smith is the real deal, in my opinion.
All right. Well, we will see when all the votes are tallied, but I tend to think that you are probably correct and that we'll see the Bulls back in the top 25. Dramatic one in Mars Hill late into the evening. How about Winston-Salem pulling one out late with the 2-minute offense?
I tell you, man, when the radio announcers are asking you, do you believe in miracles, and then you watch Dalen Lee throw the ball about 50 yards to get into the red zone. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I mean, it was a great game. It was a very engaging, entertaining fourth quarter. But to see Winston pull that off on the road just only solidifies that the CIAA is just not a conference that is just going to lay down when it comes to out of conference games.
All right, 2 big wins there for the CIAA. Let's move on. Fairmont State gets a home opener, an OT win, stopped Bloomsburg at the goal line. Huskies went for 2 in the bottom half of the first OT. Falcons get out of there with the win. Why do we spotlight that? I'll tell you why, because I think Fairmont State has a team that can challenge for the Mountain East Conference Championship this year. We've really kind of looked at Charleston as that team that's become the new standard with the way things have shifted in that league. I think Fairmont State has a team that can challenge them for supremacy and possibly win that league. So a really good hard-earned win for them. And guys, just look at the stats there for New Mexico Highlands freshman running back, true freshman running back, 385 rushing yards. That's phenomenal as it is. That is a single game, a record for a freshman in Division II. And he already has 608 yards rushing through 2 games. That's just absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. What an accomplishment for him. And the final score of that game was 69-55, I think. Highlands won that game. So, hey, and congrats to them. They won their first 2 games, both over their in-state rivals. So, great accomplishment for them as well. Up to the GLIAC. Tony, the result there with Grand Valley, of course, they win the game. The score probably just on the surface looks a little closer than we might have expected. How did that game play out for the Lakers?
It's one of the longest games in the history of mankind. That's all I can tell you. There were a lot of people that bailed because it got to be really, really late, really, really early. No, I mean, this is an interesting game because I think one of the things that, and Whit and I have talked about this on GLIAC Weekly a couple times, is this Lakers team is veteran in some spots, but very inexperienced in a lot of spots. And I think you saw that be somewhat pervasive, particularly when you look at how well Black Hills was able to throw the football and get downfield. We talked about is it TJ Chukwunga or Chukwara?
Yeah, he's a dude.
He had another 3-touchdown game in this one and got loose a couple of different times. I think the Lakers probably felt like they were in control, even though this was closer than everybody thought it was going to be. I mean, Andrew Schuster had another fantastic game for the Lakers in his second career start, 391 and four scores. So I think they feel really good about what he can do offensively, or at least running the offense. But yeah, I mean, there were a lot of things that I'm sure the Grand Valley was unhappy to have to look at on film here today and tomorrow, and things that they're really going to have to clean up if they want to be able to be successful on the road at Pitt State here this coming Saturday.
Yep. All right. And Michigan Tech goes to 2-0. Now, South Dakota Mines looks like they're struggling quite a bit, but still a really good win for the Huskies. And they get to 2-0 for the season. Tony, what does Michigan Tech have coming up? Do they have a chance to kind of keep this going?
Yeah, they do. They've played a couple of teams that I think we're starting to sense that both South Dakota Mines and maybe even Bemidji State just aren't quite what they were last year. And Tech split those games last year, played them both tight, and then they won these both handily. I think the two big differences are, again, is those two teams might not be the same as what they were, but you can't question the impact that Alex Bueno has had running the offense for Michigan Tech. He had another 2 touchdowns through the air and another one on the ground in this one, and really didn't play too far into the third quarter. I mean, I don't think he played at all in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, it was a game where they pretty much got out in front and handled things and were very disciplined and got him out of the game, got a lot of reps for a lot of guys that made the trip all the way to the Hard Rockers. They've got Hillsdale coming up, and then I think they've got Upper Iowa as their last non-con game before they start GLIAC play. And, while a lot of folks, I think Hillsdale is going to be better and continue to improve this year, it's a team that the Huskies beat a year ago. So, I mean, there's a very clear path for Michigan Tech to be sitting at 4-0 going into GLIAC play in a few weeks. And I think they're going to be, probably based on how they've performed these first 2 games, be disappointed if they don't finish that off.
All right. And let's see, we're going to kind of split this up a little bit. We have a Lone Star result and we have a Gulf South. Poe, let's actually start on the right there. Delta State gets a win over North Greenville. Pretty impressive, and also a career milestone for Coach Cooley.
Yeah, great win for North Greenville, or for Delta State over North Greenville. That win makes Todd Cooley the winningest head coach in Delta State football history. So congratulations to Coach Cooley. Great milestone and win for himself. I know.
That's saying something.
What's that?
Yeah.
That's saying something at Delta State.
Yeah. Absolutely. And just knowing Coach Cooley, I think he's probably happier that they got the win and kept it going in the right direction. But
they had a really nice offensive showing in that game. I didn't get to see the entire thing, but I watched the highlights. They had a really nice offensive showing. I think Cole Kirk's really kind of hitting his stride there. And then we talked about injuries, Poe. Now Angelo State gets a really impressive win here. This game was, Emporia got off the deck a little bit, but it was 27-0 in the first quarter. Hornets just couldn't do anything right early in the game. But it wasn't all smooth sailing for Angelo. They got bit by the injury bug too, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. It's tough. Braden Fuller goes down with an injury, and so pretty much early in the game, and they had to go without him. They were up. If you looked at the game, they were up. They had 3 touchdowns in like the first couple of minutes, and within 5 minutes left in the first quarter, they were up 27-0, and then they lose Braden Fuller to an injury early there in quarter number 1 and able to cruise it out. But as they go into Lone Star play this week, that's going to be a very, very big deal for them as they hope to win another Lone Star Conference championship. So be interesting to see how long he's out. It's been kind of quiet out of Angelo, Chuck. We don't really know much about the injury or kind of the time frame for his return, but it is something we'll be keeping an eye on here as they get ready to go into Lone Star Conference play.
Yep, no doubt. All right, we'll bounce it back to the PSAC. We kind of mentioned, not in the picks, but in the games to keep an eye on. We kind of mentioned that Slippery Rock Franklin Pierce game could be closer than we might think on the surface, and it actually played out exactly like that. I wouldn't say Slippery Rock struggled. They performed. They just had a lot of new elements to their offense and defense. And Franklin Pierce is a team that's been improving itself and getting a little bit better. This was a place Slippery Rock has never played before. They've never been there. So, totally different environment. And they had to earn it. Like I said, I don't think they struggled. They were never in trouble, but it certainly wasn't easy. And hopefully they learned a lot, because it ended up being a pretty tough game for them. And Westchester also goes up to Northeast 10 territory. They get a win over Bentley. They've had some recent struggles with Bentley, so good win for them to get out there with a 2-score win. So congrats to the Rams. And Whit, let's see if we can kind of hit the accelerator on this, bring this segment to a tidy conclusion. Got a couple results up in your territory to run through.
Yeah, you got a chance for Coach Mack at Northwest to get his first win with his program, and got to get them to kind of do a little bit more what they expected to do as the season started. They had a 2-quarterback system going. You got one runner, one a little bit more passer, and they saw some success with that. They also got to the quarterback when Washburn 6 times. On the other side, you've got Mankato found themselves in a not terribly inspired effort, I thought, in the first half, and was up 13-10 in the third quarter with Minot. And Minot was ready to go ahead and take this game. And all of a sudden, Mankato kind of hit the gas offensively. Trayshawn Watson made a few more plays for them offensively, and they went ahead and kind of hit the accelerator, end up winning 34-16. Each one of these teams, Chuck, if we're not talking about a Ferris or a Harding, in my opinion, the 2 top teams, almost anyone from 3 through 25 has kind of had a half of football so far where we go, I don't know. And, Mankato has fit that description as well.
All right, let's see if we can round the corner on this. So we had Kutztown in a game that went well into the night. They had a couple of lightning delays. Our guy Kerry Moore was on site until the end. He was there well past midnight. I think Kutztown just kind of doing what they do. Assumption is a good team, and they just didn't really let them hang with them. I think it was 30-7 in the first half at one point. And UNC Pembroke takes down Fayetteville State again. The Broncos just cannot win in Pembroke, can they, Kayford?
No, they cannot. And this was another one that went pretty late because of weather delay too. But I tell you, man, Fayetteville has a young secondary. Pembroke harassed them. They priced the Jaquan Albrights in their nightmares for the way he just sort of lined up all over the place and gave them fits. But yeah, if you're Fayetteville, you're still looking for a passing game.
All right, Whit. I'm going to ask you to do 2 more quick recaps, and then you can talk about food. All right.
Sounds like a plan. I might hurry up right for that, but but we had Central Washington making a trip out to Montana to face the Grizz, who are one of the elite teams in FCS, and I think this is one of those outcomes where they tested themselves against a regional opponent, and about the result we would have expected. Let's be honest. I don't see them any differently at our level as a result of that contest, one way or the other. On the other side, and we're mentioning because they're a top 25 squad. Then as we take a look, Nebraska Kearney now is 2-0 with their in-state rivals, beating Wayne State of Nebraska a week ago, and then kind of thumping Shadron here, 41-21, which I thought was going to be a lower scoring contest. And they're off to a good start this year. I'm kind of interested to see how they do in MIAA play. But, good start for Kearney.
Yeah. Can't wait for that Kearney and Missouri Southern matchup. I've got that circled on the calendar. The only 2 undefeated teams in the MIAA, Whit.
Yes, we're back to the chapter of small sample size.
All right. Well, of course, we've got games to watch in Super 7 coming up. Before we do that, Whit, tell us the latest from our friends at Boss's Pizza and Chicken.
Yeah. So this is we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look here. Obviously, Boss's Pizza and Chicken, a sponsor of the show, And as we've got them, right in this spot, if you have any interest in potentially opening up your own bosses, we've got, the opportunity on their website. Go ahead on the far right, go ahead and look for the information that we've got posted below. But then let's go ahead. Ferg, you're going to be my guy for this, Ferg. Okay. You get 3 choices, special offerings from the bosses. Buffalo chicken pizza, Ferg. We got spicy buffalo sauce, chicken, and cheddar cheese. What do you think? Thumbs up, thumbs down, Ferg. How will you be on that one?
Oh man, I feel like I'm getting old now because I'm just worried about the heartburn.
Ferg, that is not the enjoyment of eating, worrying about things afterwards. Okay. Or this isn't really my cup of tea here, but how about bacon, mac and cheese with nacho cheese, mac and cheese, black pepper, cheddar, and bacon? Ferg, is this any better for you or no?
Well, everything's better with bacon, so I'm rolling with this one.
I agree. So then, as we move to the last option, Ferg, this one's kind of hard to dismiss. This is tangy tangy barbecue. Do you favor this over the pizzas, or where do you stand on this one?
Yeah, I like this. I like some wings now.
Yeah, I think the answer for me is yes. Not either or, but
serving size looks a little small for you, Whit.
Well, this is an appetizer, I think, in most households. Poe, don't feel like you got to chime in.
Make sure you put on your bib.
Yeah. Well, I might have had wings last night, but it was at a different place because Bosses wasn't open by the time I went and ate late. So, but once again, thank you very much for Bosses sponsoring the show for our 3rd year. And Chuck, that moves us into the highlight of our presentation.
Your presentation.
It's
People
only because
tune
he's
in.
winning for the first time ever.
Listen, pipe down. This is where you look at the yellow line and almost 80% clip, folks. Go to Vegas on this guy. You can just ship it. Ferg,
First time ever.
care to look to defend yourself at this point. By the way, just don't forget, Ferg, for everyone watching, Ferg did take Valdosta last week. Just thought I'd point that on out.
So did you.
I did not.
No, you
I
didn't.
took Johnson.
Took Johnson C. Smith.
Oh, did you? I
Oh,
thought
I
I
was
was.
out pounding
I
that.
thought that was my kernel of
Oh,
brilliance.
no. Ferg, you don't have much to say. Ferg, you know what? Our tech support staff came up with a slide. Here is Ferg trying to explain his bad picks on the right. And there's Big Whit floating
Does look about right.
Wow.
about being at 80%.
Listen. I wanted to give myself a little bit of a challenge this year because I'm normally at the top. I said, I'm going to sandbag a little bit and I'm going to turn it on as the season goes on. It's a long season.
Well, you're going to have a chance to play catch up. But as we go ahead and we lead on in to our games here, we're going to go ahead and see some of the ones that we, don't have in our pick'em right at the moment, but games of interest. And we got Fort Valley against Clark Atlanta. We got Tiffin going into Ferris. Sioux Falls going into Bemidji. A 2-loss Bemidji, kind of an odd circumstance there. Shepherd going into Slippery Rock, which we're going to see if that's the kind of game it was a few years ago. If Shepherd can kind of step up and get back in that upper tier. Northwood going into Saginaw. People from Saginaw are giving us side eye right now on this even being on the board, I'm sure, because it was referenced a little bit last year. And then Washburn, Colorado Mines. But so those are our games of interest, guys to some additional games to kind of keep eyes on. They didn't quite make our pick'em. But Ferg, as you and I go ahead and kind of move into this slide here, we got HBCU D2 against HBCU FCS. We've got some contests here, Ferg. I've got Tuskegee, Jackson State. I got Miles, Alabama State. I've got Fayetteville State against North Carolina Central, and I got Albany State versus Florida A&M. Boy, I stuck the landing on that perfect.
Studied all afternoon on that, didn't you?
Yeah, didn't even need to look at the sheet or anything.
No,
Ferg,
you nailed it.
give me an upset here, buddy.
Well, I would be remiss first if I didn't mention what happened yesterday, because Elizabeth City played Hampton, and Hampton needed a really late score to win that game. And then Virginia State went overtime against Norfolk State, and they really had an opportunity to take that game. They were literally this close. The kicker tried to kick a 46-yard field goal, hit the upright, and bounced out of the upright, and it was just like, oh man, because you don't need to go to overtime. Like, let's get out of here,
Yeah.
So those are two really entertaining games, and Elizabeth City was really surprising. So hats off to Coach Adrian Jones for that game. Here though, I would just mention that if I had to pick an upset, it's likely to be Albany over FAMU. Really strong passing game.
Right.
Isaiah Knowles is probably one of the top or most productive quarterbacks in Division II right now.
Right.
And really great defense. And Tuskegee is certainly improving. I just don't know if they'll have enough against Jackson State. But certainly those two will be ones to watch.
Well, as we go ahead and we move into our Super 7, we talked about this team a little bit earlier, guys. Colorado State Pueblo going to be heading on into Central Missouri. Fascinating game right off the jump. Ferg, I'm starting off with you. What do you got, buddy?
I'm not fooling with Central Missouri anymore. I feel like every time I stick my neck out for them.
You have.
And it just gets the guillotined. I mean, it's a really interesting matchup, though, because on one hand, you've got Pueblo and you've got a big question mark. We talked about how their offense wasn't really running as efficiently as it could have been. And on the other hand, you got a Central Mo team that you're just like, man, what do they have right now? And so
wait, hold on.
He swore him off, and yet he's still struggling.
Hold on, Ferg. Okay, as you were.
Pueblo scares me a little bit, but I'm going to go with the Thunder Wolves on the road. I just can't do Central Missouri right now.
Tony, if there's any way you can be more concise with your pick, that'd be great. What do you got, buddy?
I'm sure. And thank you, Ferg, for making the bar very low for that request from Witt. I could see the conflict in real time with Ferg, and I share it because we keep feeling like Central Missouri is going to kind of come out of whatever weird funk that they're in. And sometimes even last year, when you look at some of the games they played, they'd look like world beaters. And then the next week they'd lay an egg. You just don't know what to make of them. I'm going to take Central Missouri on the game 1 to game 2 big improvement, especially with having a week off in between to get ready. I mentioned it earlier. Is this a game where actually Fort Hays beats Pueblo twice? Because that was a tough way to lose a game last week at home, and just now they got to go on the road against a team that's going to have plenty of firepower. I'm taking Central Missouri, but my conflict should be as evident as Ferg's.
Well, this is moving right along.
Yep.
Poe, who you got, buddy?
I failed. Thank you.
Well, as I looked at this one I threw back and forth. You can make a case for both teams to win this thing. But in the short of it, I'm going to take Pueblo on the road. I think they impressed me with Retzlaff being out. They were able to do some things offensively, still kept it going. You live and you learn. It's you grow from your losses, and I think they're going to do that. And I'm going to take Pueblo on the road in this one. Just a gut feeling on this.
Chuck, which way you leaning, buddy?
I'm going to go with the Thunderwolves here too. I think they are a legit top 10 team. This is obviously a tough road contest, but I think that they will have a response. That Fort Hays is a good team, and things just kind of got away from a little bit. We don't know how the delay affected them and the weather and all that. I think they're going to have a response to that win. I'm going to go with Thunderwolves on the road here.
It'll be interesting. Thunderwolves going against Rich Wright's Central Missouri defense. That's a handful. But I'm gonna take Pueblo also to respond, like you said, Chuck. I think that's a fair way of putting that. So moving on into our second game. Oh, this is a humdinger. Lenore Ryan at Emory and Henry.
I think this game's at Lenore Ryan, by the way.
Oh, maybe we have it wrong.
Is.
Okay.
It's at Lenore Ryan.
Okay, well then at Lenore Ryan then. Stupid tech support. Anyway, so Chuck, I'm starting off with you, Chuck. You have Emory and Henry staying hot, or you got Lenore Ryan?
I love what Emory and Henry's been doing the last couple of years but I don't think their offense is consistent enough, especially in the passing game. I don't think that they have quite enough proven consistency there with that to win at Lenore Ryan. It's a 6:00 kick. That is going to be a tough environment for them to go into. I like the Bears to win this at home.
Ferg, do you see Emory and Henry winning at Lenore Ryan?
I think it's going to be pretty competitive, but I also have Lenore Ryan at home.
Okay. Tony, any chance that you have the road team here?
No, I don't. And I talked about how suspicious I was of Lenore Ryan when they played, Valdosta a couple of weeks ago. With that said, since that point and even during that game, they showed that they've got the ability to be explosive. That I think Chuck nailed in that Emory and Henry just has not shown that yet. And against opponents that I wouldn't consider to have defenses that are, in the upper half of Division II. So I think at home, this is a tough ask for Emory and Henry to go into Lenore Ryan and get that win. So I'll take the Bears.
Okay, and I get distracted, guys. Who has not picked yet of you, Poe and Chuck? Poe, okay. Poe, what do you got, buddy?
Yeah, you look at this one, and Emory and Henry, they're undefeated. They're 2-0. They beat a Glenville State team 45-17, and they turned around and beat Catawba this past week 35-7. They're averaging 40 points a game, but I just think the body of work that Lenore Ryan has put in and showed us this year with going down to West Florida and competing.
West Florida, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Playing. No, you're good. But playing down there, and then this past weekend at Tusculum on the road, they had to battle through some stuff this past weekend. But ultimately, I think it's going to be too much for Emory and Henry. I'm going to take Lenore Ryan in this one at home. And it doesn't really matter home or away. I'm going to take Lenore Ryan. I think they're a little bit more battle-tested going into this game.
Well, a year ago, the Wasps beat Lenore Ryan by 2 scores. I'm going to take Lenore Ryan again here. I think that they've got a nice upside, and I think that they're a team that can compete for the SAC championship, and I'm going to go ahead and take Lenore Ryan here. Giving you guys a chance to catch up. Let's go with Davenport next. At Truman. Truman State.
Truman is 0-2 here, Whit. I just wanted to point that out.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, technically 0-1. One of their losses was to an FCS opponent. So
that's right. You're right.
We can consider them 0-1, but just wanted to make sure that we do know that.
Good point. Chuck, while you're at it, which side do you favor here?
Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to pretend that I've had a ton of time to dive real deep on either of these teams. We just don't always have the opportunity to do that. It's a matchup that we probably have not seen before. I don't know if these teams have ever played before. Not sure if they have or not.
I think a couple of years ago.
Did they? Okay. I'm going to go Davenport here, Whit. I think that the Panthers have a little bit more of a proven ability to just prepare for some of the unknowns. I'm going to go with Davenport to beat Truman, even though it is a road game for the Panthers.
Poe, which way are you going here?
I'm going to take Davenport in this one. I just think their roster makeup, I like the way it looks. I like what they've shown so far. I'm going to take Davenport this year.
Tony, which direction you heading?
I'm going to take Davenport, Whit, but I actually went back and forth for a good chunk of the afternoon on this one, because you and I talked on GLIAC Weekly last week in pretty great detail about how the Panthers went into Gannon and were far less than impressive and still managed to get a win. But that kind of seems to be Davenport's MO when they play out of conference, especially on the road. They go places that are far away. It's inconvenient. They don't travel well. They end up playing kind of subpar, and yet they come home with wins almost every single time that they do that. So there's some knack that they have for being able to grind these types of games out. And until proven otherwise, it's hard to pick against them.
Ferg, are you also going with Davenport?
I am.
I can envision a game where Davenport's just too physical up front. But I like Truman's offensive weaponry. I think they've got some guys that I like quite a bit. I'm going to go ahead and take Truman here. We're out on the island tonight. We have got Charleston 1-1 going into West Al 2-0. Guys, this feels like a toss up here. Ferg, you have faith in Charleston yet? What are your thoughts?
I don't think it's a toss-up. I think West Al's definitely going to be I think they're pretty relatively battle-tested too. And I think that their defense is really going to slow down Charleston's offense. I mean, Charleston didn't really have that great of a output against Cal. And I think this is going to be a step up for them. So I like West Al.
Okay. Tony, how about you?
These are two teams that I always feel like I don't quite know what to make of them. Even West Al, the years that they maybe go to the playoffs, they don't seem to perform well when they get into those tough games. So it's like I just never seem to know what they are. But this year with Charleston, I think they're still trying to figure out what kind of offense they want to be. After having that such a good bell cow back the last couple of years. So I'm going to take West Al, particularly at home in this one, just because I think that top to bottom, they're going to have better athletes. But, yeah, this is one where I'm still looking at this one. I'm not sure who either one is just yet.
Paul, which way are you going on this one, guy?
Yeah, gosh, this one's tough. I'm gonna take West Al in this one, but I think, there's new head coach and Scott Cochran, but if I'm not mistaken, both coordinators return for West Al, and so I look for them to continue and go to 3-0 this year. But it wouldn't surprise me if Charleston pulled this one out.
Chuck, do you think Charleston can rebound here and win this one on the road?
Man, Mountain East against the GSC. We really don't see these two conferences meet each other on the field very often. So it's really hard to know how they're going to match up. What I'm going to watch for here, Whit, and I do think West Al is going to win the game, but what I'm going to watch for here is Charleston's O-line against a Gulf South defensive front that's very, very good. Charleston typically has good size in the offensive line. Typically perform very well there. So I'm going to be curious to see how well they measure up. If they're going to win this game, Ian Hamrick has to have a huge performance for Charleston. He did not last week. We've actually had a pretty bad performance. I think it was like 6 for 22 or something like that.
Yeah, right.
He needs to have a big night. He's a very dynamic player. He needs to have a big day if they're going to win this game. But I think West Al's is going to have a little too much of a talent advantage overall.
After watching Charleston and the way they struggled early in that football game, I mean, 1 of 9 or 10 passing to start it off. And I know the rain was affecting it and so forth. I just, the athleticism that they're going to see in the Gulf South. And it seems like West Al is trending upward. I have them here as well. Ashland, who we spoke of earlier, with going into Indianapolis. Which team is Indianapolis, and how much do we know about Ashland? I think this one is probably the definition of a toss-up for us. Poe, I'm starting with you. What do you got, buddy?
Golly, man. Yeah, that's my answer. No, I think I'm going to take Indy. I think they're at home. I think they're going to rebound. I think Ashland. We just don't know enough about them yet, their body of work. Like I said, I'm going to take you, Indy, at home. But, again, this is another one you flip a coin. It wouldn't surprise me if it went the other way.
Chuck, how about yourself?
Well, Ashland's defense played extremely well at IUP. The offense, not quite as much, although got to give them a lot of credit. They stuck to their game plan and they ground out a couple scoring drives in the second half, but still, you typically don't expect 13 points to beat a team like IUP. And I think they will need more this weekend against UIndy. Hard to discard how badly UIndy fumbled away that game at Findlay. They made a ton of mistakes. I talked with Coach Keevers really, really briefly afterwards. And, I walked up to him to shake his hand. He just looked at me and said, played like shit. I don't think they're going to do that 2 weeks in a row. I don't think they're going to do that 2 weeks in a row. They were mad and they should have been. And, I think that they'll have a response for that. I think they'll play a lot better, clean some things up. And I think the Greyhounds will get a hard-earned win at home.
Tony, how do you see it?
I think we should start having Coach Keevers on the show because he's far more concise than any of us.
He was very concise. Yeah.
I think what concerns me about Indianapolis is that they let Findlay run for 272 yards yesterday. And that's a GLVC defense typically should be more stout, particularly up front than that. At the same time, I think I am going to take the Greyhounds here because I don't think you could confuse Gavin Sukup and what the Indianapolis pass offense is with what IUP brought to the table yesterday. And I just think this is going to be a completely different challenge for Ashland from a defensive standpoint. I think Indianapolis, bounces back.
Ferg, how about yourself?
I'm going to go out on a limb here. And
Ferg, you got to do some things. You're chasing the whole group. We understand.
Well, that too. But and Ashland's probably like, he's picking us. But I do expect them to slow Indy down, and I think that will give them a chance. So I'm going to go with Ashland here.
I think the pace determines a lot of this one. I don't think that Ashland can get scoring with Indy. I really don't. I just feel like Ashland is not trying to play that kind of game, but we'll see. If Ashland can establish the run, I think Indy's in trouble. I just feel like Indy has got a higher ceiling, and I think they rebound here. I'll take Indy. Next up, meat and potatoes matchup here. Minnesota State 2-0. Traveling to Minnesota Duluth 2-0. Last two times these teams have met, Minnesota Duluth has come away with the win. Tough one here. Ferg, think I know what you're doing just by default, but we'll start with you anyway to see what happens.
Well, it is going to be an adventure. I mean, when you look at Duluth and especially what they're able to do on offense, I mean, they could run, they could pass, and do it quite well. But we already know where this is going, and I'm looking for Hoffer to bring it home. So in Hoffer we trust, and I'm going to go with Mankato.
He and I talked about this when we were going to do his pregame interview in Mankato. I said, Coach, have you seen this whole thing where we've got a guy on the show? And he said, in Hoffner we trust, and he got a good laugh out of it. So, Tony Nicolette, where are you going, buddy?
Oh, boy. I something tells me that Kyle Waljasper and company are just going to be ready for the Mavs in this one. And I have a horrible record. Every time I pick against the Mavs, they always seem to pull it out. So Ferg's probably safe and he's going to catch me on this one. But I don't know. There's something about the home field and about the fact that Duluth seems to know what to do to be able to beat or give Mankato fits, I think is going to be one of the differences in this one. And I think Waljasper is going to have a monster game.
Fair enough. Coach Poe, where are you going on this one, buddy?
Real plain and simple, Minnesota State.
Wow. Chuck Bittner, how do you see this one?
Man, yeah, this is probably the toughest. It might be the toughest of all the picks we've done so far this year, simply because of the history that these two teams have with each other. Yeah. And, kind of to the point that Tony had made, like Duluth just knows how to do it against Minnesota State. I don't really like this matchup for the Mavs. We have them up highly ranked. I have them up highly ranked in my poll, but I don't like this matchup for them. I think that Duluth knows what to do. I think the physicality at the line of scrimmage is the difference. I like Duluth at home.
I might flip flop on this 5 times before Tom and I film our show. But
Fair enough.
There's a part of me that really wants to go with Duluth, but I think Mankato is going to have a chip on their shoulder after the last few contests with them. And I think the way Trayshawn Watson is making plays down the field, I think that he can hurt Duluth downfield a little bit differently than maybe they have in the last few visits. I'm going to take Mankato here, but by the time you tune in, if you look at the Northern Sun weekly show, NSIC Weekly, might have a different answer by that time. But I'm on the record taking the Mavericks. And here we go in our final game. We got Grand Valley making the trip down to Pitt State. 2-0 Grand Valley at 0-2 Pitt. At face value, if you just went by records and you had your blinders on, you would immediately just say it has to be Grand Valley. Well, making a trip into Pitt State is no picnic. Much different environment. Ferg, how do you see this one?
Well, I mean, and it's their first home game of the season too, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So I mean, that only adds to the hype to try to rally the troops here. But I do like what Grand Valley has, what they've been able to do so far in their 2 games. I know that there's no comparison between the two, but I do think that Grand Valley will go in and take a win home back to Michigan.
Tony, I believe that you're going to end up being boots on the ground for this, are you not?
That's looking that way, yes.
That's pretty cool. Okay. I got a chicken place for you to check out, but we'll talk about that after.
Outstanding.
Yes. Tony, how do you see this one?
So, I got to give the Lakers a ton of credit for how they responded yesterday. I mean, they were down 10-0 against a team that I think a lot of people felt like they were pretty well heavily favored against. Coach Bresky and Black Hills came in with a really good plan of how they were going to give the Lakers fits. And despite having some really tough go, but early, Grand Valley got things going and was able to bounce back. They never really put a full distance between them and Black Hills, though. And that's one of the things that kind of concerns me is the back end of the Grand Valley defense. I think the Lakers knew going into the season that it was going to be a work in progress, but it really showed to be that way last night. And I think, Jackson Berry has shown that he and his guys on the outside can make a lot of plays. They did it against Ferrets, and they did it again last night against Central Oak. I think what concerns me for Grand Valley is just the inability to run the ball yesterday against Black Hills State. I mean, 2 yards per carry. And the one advantage Grand Valley has this year versus last year is that their ability to create basically a quasi-run game with the short passing game is light years ahead this year of where it was last year.
Sure.
With that said, had a field goal block yesterday, had a punt block yesterday, gave up a touchdown on a kickoff return, 10 penalties 2 weeks in a row. That's a whole lot of inconsistency and a lot of unevenness to go into the jungle and beat a team that is going to play, let's face it, with a lot of desperation at 0-2. I just think Pitt State, I think Grand Valley can win this game. I think Pitt State's going to probably be surprised at how much speed Grand Valley has offensively on the outside and how well they can leverage it. If Grand Valley gets penalized 10 times again and makes special teams mistakes again, I just think this is going to be the toughest test that they've had, and it's a lot to ask to go into the jungle and get that win. So I'll take Pitt State.
Coach Poe, how do you see it, buddy?
Man, I was gonna take Grand Valley until you just picked Pitt State, Tony. You totally threw my train of thought there. No, I think it's really hard. Pitt State, they played 2 really, really good opponents. In weeks 1 and 2 this year. So it's hard, and it doesn't get any easier with Grand Valley coming to town. However, I think Pitt State is a good football team. I think they're in my opinion probably too good to be 0-3. So I'm going to take Pitt State at home as well. I think this is going to be a really good matchup and a really good game. But I think Pitt State will win this one at home.
Chuck, how do you see this one?
Well, it's a really tough environment for Grand Valley to go into against a team that's, we've all talked about it. I mean, they're a good team. They've just played really tough competition, but that's kind of the name of the game. And I think that Grand Valley is ready for these moments. I actually like the Lakers to go into the jungle and win this, Whit.
Fair enough. This is another game that I see as a total coin flip. There's a part of me that thinks that Grand Valley is maybe the better football team, but I don't know if they're the better football team this moment. I think they will be this year. With that said, I feel like Pitt State has played tougher competition and they're playing at home. Feel like they're kind of due. I'm actually going to go with Pitt State in this one. I didn't think I was going to find myself in this spot, but I'm going to take Pitt State here. Well, guys, there is our pick'em. Some great games, I really think, upcoming this week. Want to make sure, kind of before we wrap up the show, we've got some platforms that are kind of helping us along with doing some of the things on the show. We've got Flow College Sports, we've got the RMAC and the MIAA, both provided by Huddle, and it helps make this show go. So thanks to them. But guys, what do we have left in regards to some of the comments or what have you?
Well, it was pretty busy in the chat, lots of different things, and we don't always need to rehash everything. I think we all kind of addressed this one. Is JCSU legit, or is this just a down year for Valdosta? Actually, I think two things can be true at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think the real thing, the question there is JCSU legit, and I think they are.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Let's see. Somebody asked, "Hey Chuck, whose house do we need to egg over that lame new Shippensburg logo?" Yeah, it's not great, and dropping it like right before the season was a little bit odd too. So, rebranding is a thing, and sometimes they nail it, and sometimes you get like your Cracker Barrel kind of moment, and it just nobody likes it, and this is how it goes. But yeah, I don't particularly care for it either.
Cracker Barrel just made the show. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it took that long, man. Isn't that your favorite place?
I could have some chicken and dumplings there, but Chuck, carry on.
So the polls are we know they don't mean anything, but they actually do carry some weight with folks, and I think that they do actually represent where teams are at a given point in time. It says you can't have an 0-2 team in the top 25. Well, we have in the past. In fact,
want to bet?
Yeah, you can. And somebody, I'll actually bring it up as the first thing that came into my mind, but Wesley had mentioned it in the chat as well. Mines was 0-2 2 years ago, and then they won the rest of their games and went all the way to the national championship. So,
well, Chuck, I think where you're going with this is also that keep in mind this is not standings,
right?
This is essentially our opinion of how good these football teams are. It's an opinion poll. This isn't standings. So we expect Pitt to be ranked this week. I'm going to say it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I think it probably will be. Well, Whit, I know you like to kind of give K Ferg a little bit of shade for picks. So
I like to give him a lot of shade.
That's true. Calvin, longtime friend of the show. He's counting up all the picks in the CIAA column.
Go, Calvin. Give it to him. No. Give it to Ferg.
Well, at least I picked Fayetteville State to lose, and that cashed in. So there's that.
That was the low hanging fruit because they just for some reason can't get over the hump there in Pembroke. But we'll give you the W on that one.
Ferg taking a victory lap for going 4-5 there. I like that.
Hey, you gotta find joy somehow. You can't let people steal your joy like that.
Sack columnist dunking on Conference Carolinas. They've had a tough intro to the season. Yeah, not so good so far.
More shade.
Yeah. Let's see. James actually chimed in. If Mankato wins this week, they should run the table easily. Man, I don't think so. The NSIC is a league that is very, very difficult to get through without a blemish or two. So this is certainly one of their toughest challenges. But it's not like it's smooth sailing if they get through this one, right?
No. I mean, when you still have Sioux Falls and Augustana and some others on the slate, I would not get ahead of myself. No.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. A couple of those we already brought up. Thanks to Finley for checking in on the show. Appreciate that. Nice that you're watching. That's really cool. Whit, I think there were a few that you had starred. I don't know if you wanted to bring up any of the others.
Let me take a quick look here. You know what? That was, I brought up kind of the main one I wanted to, I think, from before. So I'm good on that side, Chuck.
Well, I'm going to end on this. We won't discuss this tonight, but sometimes our friend John throws out some pretty good kind of big picture questions. I think this is a good one.
When he's not getting in a slap fight with other users in there. So
well, certainly, but sometimes he turns the hat on backwards, and that's where all the good thoughts start to flow from.
That's a good point.
It's a good topic to think of for a future show. Who is a player from the conference you cover that not enough people know about? I think that's a really good question. We'll shine the light on some players. So, Whip, maybe we'll try to find a way to work that into a future show.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good question. So
I got nothing right now, but I like it.
Yeah, I think that's one that requires a little bit of thought. So we will not hold ourselves accountable for that just at the moment, but I think it's a really good question. So, guys, we're coming up on an hour and a half, so I think we will call it a show there. So thanks to everybody who is watching and has been watching all season long. The viewership for the show is probably the best it's ever been. We really, really do appreciate that. Thank you for participating in the chat. I know we don't always get to bring up a lot of your comments on the show or on the screen, but love to see everybody interacting with each other in the chat. And we're going to be back here again next Sunday to do the same thing. But until then, you've got podcasts and columns that'll land all week long, so make sure you're tuning into those. It'll be on all the platforms. And guys, I think that'll be it. We'll see you back here again next Sunday night.